Welcome to the Women Living Well After 50 podcast. I'm Sulon Carrick and I'm passionate about inspiring, motivating, supporting and informing women over 50 to embrace this exciting time of life. Health and wellness in mind, body and spirit are the foundations for living well, but there is so much more to a life well lived. Each week, through conversations with my guests, I'll be presenting topics that will help us all to live well and enjoy life. So join me as we discover new ways to become women living well after 50. Are you ready to start living? What are you waiting for? Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Women Living Well After 50 podcast. I'm Sulon Carrick and it's lovely to have you join me. Now, we all have a story to tell, but sometimes we find it a little bit difficult in getting started or knowing how we can share that story. My guest today is going to help us with that. Bonnie Garvin has written and produced movies for television film in the United States and Europe, and in addition to writing for 3 major American broadcast networks, she's worked for Showtime, Lifetime, and USA. Her first feature, The Killing Yard, was optioned by Warner Brothers and later made as a film. Bonnie's storytelling lab is unlike any other writing class or workshop. Her goal isn't to teach you how to write, but rather to help unlock your own unique voice. The course embodies her philosophy that we were born writers. She specialises in getting you out of your own way. So if you've been wanting to share your story, then this is the episode for you. So let's go and join the conversation and learn how we can release our own unique voice and share our story to the world. Welcome, Bonnie. It's so lovely to have you join me on the Women Living Well After 50 podcast.
I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so glad that I've survived well over 50.
Yes, and looking well over 50 as well. Now, you actually reached out to me, which is what I love, because I'm always, I feel that if someone reaches out to me to share their experiences, they're very passionate about it, rather than me having to try and ask people to come on the show. So I was very excited when you reached out, and I felt your energy in the email that you sent. So we've all got a story to tell, and you're going to be talking to us about that today. But before we get into it, I'd like you to just share a little bit about yourself with the listeners, your background, and how you came to writing.
Well, it's a good question. And I always say that if you knew me growing up, I'd have been the last person that you ever imagined become a writer. I mean, when I started writing, it surprised me. And I actually came in through the back door because it would have just never occurred to me. I would have never had the self-confidence. I would never have had, the trust in myself or the be able to stick to it. But when I was in therapy at the time, and I knew that when I was working in PR in the healthcare field, it was actually an HMO before anyone, including me, had any idea. I was working for this company doing PR. I had no even idea what an HMO was, which here was homeopath. It's a clinic that's private as opposed to hospitals and things. And the whole idea was it would be one payer and all the kinds of things they're trying to do now. But this was a long time ago. So I knew I didn't want to be in healthcare my whole life, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. So the therapist said, well, why don't you just go back and I graduated college already several years before. Just go back and take things that are interesting to you. And I thought, till you see if there's something that sparks. I thought, well, that was a really good idea. And I went and took a couple classes. And I had been some years before in radio broadcasting. So I thought, well, maybe I'll go back and look at some journalism classes. And I signed up for what I thought was that kind of class. And it turned out it was not only a playwriting class, it was an advanced playwriting class. I'd never even had a fantasy of writing a play. I mean, it was just the most unreal thing that I would or think about doing. So at the end of the class, as luck would have it, it was a circle and everyone went around and said, what their experience was. And these people had been writing plays and a couple of them had things, produced in small theater companies. And all I wanted to do was get out of that room. And I went up to the professor and I said, look, I'm not going to be here next week, but I wanted to tell you why that is. And then I went into my whole thing, how I didn't want to be a writer. I had no experience, all that. And she said, well, you're already here. Just stay. What the hell? So because I was in my really people pleasing phase, I couldn't say, no, I don't want to. So of course I went, oh, okay. And then was so unhappy that I did that. But I had the first assignment was to go home and write a scene. And I thought, I don't know what a scene is. What am I going to write here? So I thought, well, I know how people communicate with one another. I'll just write that. So I'm already making a long story longer. But what ended up happening was I wrote the last scene that I wrote became the last scene of a full-length play that I wrote in the course of the class. And I was just,
Mm.
it was so much fun. I love this. I never considered that anything would ever happen with it. And the professor told me about this fancy playwriting class competition, which I'd never heard about because I wasn't into playwriting. And, I figured, "Ugh, who cares? I'll just submit it." And I submitted it and I became a finalist for this competition. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be a writer. I want to be. And it was so good that it happened that way because I had any idea how hard it was to really become a writer. I didn't even know what it meant, really. I mean, I
Mm,
thought
mm,
you're a writer because you go, I'm a writer. And in a sense, in a funny way, that is true. But in the spirit I was doing it, it wasn't true.
mm. I just want to come in there because I was listening to you and thinking, you threw yourself in the deep end unwittingly. You didn't know that. But to me, I couldn't even begin to think about how to write a play. Writing a novel or something is probably difficult enough. But I suppose from that experience, you could have walked away, but
Yeah,
the professor encouraged you to stay and look what you achieved. It's that thing again where we fear something, but if we can just overcome that fear,
exact,
we
exact.
can achieve more than what we ever think we're capable of.
It's exactly that. And again, it's that idea of when you don't go in there being invested in, I have to be good, I have to be this, which is sort of normally my thing. It's so freeing. And
Mm,
that was, I'm sure that had I gone in how I normally would go in, which is I have to succeed, I have to do this, I have to be the best. Oh, I'm not trying hard enough. I would just like into the whole thing. And I just didn't feel that way because didn't have anything riding on it. And
mm,
it was interesting because some years ago I started to paint because I felt like I was sort of getting stale as a writer and I wanted to try something else because I feel like everything kind of feeds itself creatively.
mm,
And I chose that particularly because I knew I was terrible at it and I didn't feel any compulsion at all to be good or to have anyone even think I was good. So I
mm,
went in and I took the class. And I mean, honestly, if you saw the first thing I painted, it looked like a third grader. I mean, it was so ridiculous, but I liked it. It was fun. So I kept doing it and I would go to art class and I would come home and I'd spend hours just drawing a finger. And to make another long story short, so now it's been 10, 11 years. I've, really grown as a painter and I've had several shows, I've sold things, but it doesn't come from because I wanted to be a painter. And it doesn't come because I have some great talent that other people don't have. Because if you do something and you're enjoying it, the chances are you'll do it again. And if you do it again, you get better. I mean, that's just the way the
mm,
world works. It has nothing to do
mm,
with built-in genius.
mm. Yes, and like we're our harshest critics, and I know myself, I'll admit I'm not a very good artist or anything like that, but sometimes I think I really would like to give it a try and go to a class and just see what can happen, because I suppose going to a class as well, you get some guidance
Yeah.
and but the other good thing is that I like your idea of you don't really have any expectations of
Yeah.
yourself, because once we put those expectations on or we raise the bar, that's pressure comes on, and then that would obviously dull our creativity because we're worrying so much about not being able
Absolutely.
to do it properly that our creative mind will just shut down.
No, it's so true. And I've had that experience as well, both as a writer and painter, where you start to sell things and then you think, oh, I should be doing what people want, not what I want. I should be, oh, if I sold something, well, I could probably sell more. And maybe I should do
Mm,
this. And maybe, and I went through that whole exact thing that I went through with writing. And then said to myself, no, okay, you're not going down this path. And I've been so much happier and it's so much more fulfilling because I
mm,
really do feel like well, I'm doing it for me. And when I go to the class, I'm chill. It really seems fun. I sort of escape from my head and go, it's really wonderful for people to do things like that. I mean,
mm.
and I think it's more important in a funny way as we get older because it keeps us connected to people and it reminds us that age is nothing but a number. I mean, that you're as vibrant now as you were 30 years ago. So having that kind of community, one of the things I've really done with Storytelling Lab is to not just make it a class, but try and build a community. And there are so many women that keep in touch with each other and support each other. And, because even through Zoom, they've been able to do that.
Mm.
I think people need more of that. And when you're writing, it's a very solitary thing. So having other people that are in the same place as you and are going through the same struggle, really helps.
Yes, and sometimes I think though again we fear what other people will think. So,
Absolutely.
if you're writing or whatever you do, you sort of think, oh, well, I think this might be good, but I don't really want to put it out there because they might criticize it and I don't want to, get any negative reaction to it. And so fear holds us back when a lot of times you do share and you get encouragement from people.
Right,
And I
right.
would think in a class, everyone is really trying to encourage each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's this great quote, and I think it's from Denzel Washington. He said, "Don't worry what people think about you because they're not thinking about you.
Mm,
They're thinking
mm,
about themselves." And that is so true. I'm always thinking, they don't care. I mean,
yeah,
it's not them. We're putting all of that onto them.
that's right. And then making our own life, unhappy
I
because
know,
of,
it's the
of the way
same.
we view things. So you mentioned briefly storytelling lab. So let's talk a little bit about that because, you know, I'd like to know what it's about and also why you decided to create it.
So it was during COVID, and whoops, let me just turn this off. Sorry about that. Um, so it was during COVID, and I teach at the University of Southern California and teach screenwriting where I've been for, I don't know, 18 years or something. And that is the premier film school in the country. And when we went on to Zoom, it was the most miserable experience of my life. And I thought, if this continues, I'm not going to ever want to teach again. So I thought, well, I'm locked in the house too. What would I like to do? Because if I like to do it, my guess is someone else will like to do it. So I
Mm,
thought, well, rather than having a traditional class, what I would do was tend to take a multi disciplinary approach so the class is 6 weeks, and every week you have a different assignment. And you watch a particular movie or read a particular book or read a particular article, or maybe you draw something and it's all attached to a prompt that thematically is tied into, let's say you saw a documentary. So the prompt would be tied into that, and you might do something that's visual. You might do something that's in somebody's voice other than yours to write from a different
mm,
character. So there are all these different ways because one of the things is everybody is very thinks about writing in a really certain way. And it's much broader than that. And my new my new poster child for that is I had a guy who was living in Mexico, and his boyfriend was from Australia, and they had moved to Mexico for the boyfriend's work. And the one had decided he wanted to take the class because he felt like he just needed something to change his life and he didn't know what. So he ended up taking the class after 6 weeks. 10 weeks later, I get an email from him thanking me for the class, telling me how much it's changed him. And he just enrolled in architecture school because it opened something up in him. Now, it has not, because this is the thing about creativity. If you're open to it,
mm,
and you might find things about yourself that you never imagined. I have another woman who works in TV, but behind the scenes. She's a producer on some documentaries. And she had this horrible experience where in a short period of time, she had a stillborn birth and lost her husband, who was like 42 years old. And she had been
Mm,
trying to write about it for years. She ended up in my class, and she has now written a full-length graphic novel, having done all the illustrations herself, having never done illustrations. She'd never even seen a graphic novel until she came into the class. And she's already been featured in the Times of London in their Sunday magazine.
mm,
Now she's out with the publisher. I mean, people don't know what they can do because they don't try it. So this is a way for people to try things without feeling so much like everything is at stake. I mean,
mm,
if you're
mm.
doing it for fun and you're not doing it in a public way, I think people are freer. And then what happens is you suddenly see, it's not that big a deal. You know what? The sun still came up, you know, everything
Mm.
went on just because you wrote something, nothing's changed. You've changed because you've sort of gotten out of that position of feeling stuck.
Yes, yes. And as you say, I was just thinking, you don't always need to do your course if you want to write a novel or anything.
Absolutely
It's just
not.
a matter of unlocking your unique voice and your creativity, and having an open mind. You don't know what you're going to end up with.
No, it's really true. And no, the thing I think that's good about classes, whether it's my class or anybody's class, is in the same way I went to a class initially and fell into it. Sometimes it's the thing that now, because you haven't had any discipline before, and now because you've turned up 8 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 weeks, you start to feel like, oh, well, maybe I can do this. And
Mm,
but on the other hand, there are a lot of other ways to write. I mean, not everybody has it. Goes to a class. I mean, you've got to figure out what works for you, what makes you comfortable. Even writing,
mm,
I'll tell people who are uncomfortable writing, talk into a tape recorder and have it transcribe it for you. And they'll think like, oh,
mm.
that's so miraculous. No, it's just sort of common sense. You have to find the way that's comfortable for you rather than the way that's
Yeah.
comfortable for me.
Mm,
It's a very
mm.
personal thing.
Yeah, that's very true as well, because I hadn't thought about, recording it, but sometimes you're more natural with speaking and just talking out loud and getting your thoughts down rather than
Absolutely.
being hampered by trying to handwrite or type or something. But you come back to discipline, and I think what your course would do, as you say, you're turning up every week. And I think that's the thing. People just are afraid to take that first
Right,
step, or they're not
right,
sure what to do.
right, right.
As I said, you don't necessarily have to be saying, oh, I'm going to write a book. Although I'm
No,
amazed that so many women now in their retirement are changing careers and producing books, and for their enjoyment, but for readers as well, readers'
no,
enjoyment. And they've gone completely 360 from what they were doing as their career. And suddenly this creativity has just been able to be expelled into writing. So I think it's something that you just need that help with that first step.
it's really true. You need to do what it doesn't matter what it is. I always say that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you want to write a poem, if you want to write a haiku. It just doesn't matter. You're doing something. You're doing something for yourself. And
Mm,
that, I mean, I always say that if I'm stuck on a desert island all by myself for the rest of my life, at least I could entertain myself because I could tell myself stories. And if they gave me a pencil and a paper, at least I could write them down. I mean, you really are,
mm,
in a sense, entertaining yourself because you're going off into your imagination, which is buried, as I like to say, under all the bullshit of life. I mean, there
mm,
is still that little kid in you. You just
mm,
don't know it because you don't access it anymore. And when you were that kid and you drew a picture, you didn't go downstairs to your mother and say, "Well, what do you think about the composition? Do you think the color palette's working?" No, you didn't say that. You said, "She'll say it's great. Put it on the refrigerator. You go out and never think about it again."
mm,
Because you
mm.
didn't do it for the accolades. You did it because in that moment, that was a fun thing to do. And that's what we no
Mm.
longer have because we have work has replaced it. Work
Yes, and I
replaced
was thinking about
everything.
yeah, thinking about that imagination, and life takes over. That we talk about things like thinking about what you did as a child that found great joy and fun with, but you don't do it now as an adult, and that's because life's just got on top of you and you're sort of at the grind and that sort of thing. And then of course when we retire, we've got time to
Right.
perhaps be able to
Right.
revisit. But like I've got a grandson who's 7, and every week I see him after school and we write books. And he's teaching me. He
Oh,
writes
I
all these
love that.
series of books, and he'll sit there and I'll go, now, Nan, what are we going to do? And then he'll say things like, oh, and the backstory is this. And I'm
Oh
thinking,
my
oh my
God.
God, I didn't know what a backstory
Oh my
was
God.
at
That's
7.
amazing at 7 years old.
And so I can see his little mind working, and he's got the characters, and we'll talk about it, and he draws the pictures to go with the books. And then he even said the other day, I'm going to um, make sure there's no spelling mistakes, and then I'd like to publish my book. I'm revisiting my
Oh my God.
Magic Man, I think it was called, or some sort of series, and I'd love to get it published. And I thought, this is coming from a 7-year-old, and
That's
his imagination's just overflowing. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't want you to, become an adult because your creativity may get stunted. But so that's what we do every week. We get home from school
I
and we
love
pull
that.
out where we left off the week before, writing this story. And I've gained so much because it's making me think and
Yes.
making me have
Yes.
imagination.
Yes.
Because he puts me on the spot. He says, well, what do you think, Nan?
I
How do you think
love
it should
that.
go? So it's a lot, we can learn a lot
You're
from children.
collaborating with him.
Yes,
Really,
yes.
you are.
So
That's
yeah,
so great. Yeah, and it
yeah.
makes you feel alive as well. I mean, that's the thing about it. It's just they're only ideas. I mean, if you write something and you don't like it, you'll throw it in the garbage. I mean, as I say, I mean, people put so much emphasis on it being good or it, who cares? I mean, you're not
Mm,
sending it to the Pulitzer Prize a committee, I mean, you're doing it for yourself. And if you do it on Monday and then do it on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, by the end of the week, you'll be better. And it,
mm.
and I think that, reducing it down to just that. And I get the whole thing about wanting to be the best and wanting to, be famous and wanting to make a lot of money. Like my husband would always say to me, "You're picking out the dress for the Academy Awards and you haven't written the script yet." And we all get like that. It's so, and you have the idea and you get excited, but then you have to do the work. And I think that
Mm,
that's, people, there's a magical element, I think, to writing that everybody thinks they can do it. And by the way, they can. It's only a
mm,
question of, I mean, assuming you're literate, and I'm assuming that most people that are listening to this are literate, and
mm,
that it's a question of, but do you want to do it? Yeah, you can do
mm.
it, but is that what you want to do? Do you want to sit down every day and write?
Where can we find that inspiration to start? Is it with journaling perhaps, or is it just thinking about something and taking it from there? Or how would you suggest that we find our inspiration today if we wanted to have a try?
Your timing is very funny because I just wrote this thing for my Substack, which is going to come out, I guess, tomorrow, about how to get started. But I think that how to get started isn't like, okay, now I'm going to write the great American novel. I would keep a notebook when you're walking around, you see something and you go, "Oh, that's really kind of interesting," right? Actually, they say that doodling is really connected to your brain and will help loosen you up and come up with ideas. Um, I would just literally walk around and I'd see someone when I needed more help with my imagination than I do now because it's a muscle and I've used it and I can come up with something like that. But before, you had to put a gun to my head. I couldn't come up with anything. But you look at people and you say to yourself, I wonder what that person does. I wonder, are they married? Are they single? Do they have children? You just sort of start making things up in the same way if you were playing with your dolls, you gave them a story, right? It's it's that. The other thing I also do is say to people, talk to people that you don't know. or even your family? How many things does anyone know about their family? So at 1 year at Thanksgiving, I gave my writing students an assignment that they had to go back for Thanksgiving and talk to people that they don't talk to in their family just because they're hanging out with the young ones, and talk to the adults and ask them about their lives. So the student comes back and having found out that his uncle had been in Vietnam, which he knew absolutely nothing about, of course. And the uncle started telling him, and he told him this story about how he and his best friend had been separated because one went to college and one had to go, was drafted. And what that
Mm,
meant, it was the last day they were together. He wrote the movie. He raised all the money from himself. He went back to that town and literally got money from every single person in that town to make his movie. I mean, so where did the passion come from? The passion just came from talking to somebody and listening.
mm. Yes, and getting, I suppose, caught up in a story like that. That's a lot of, and what his uncle went through and so forth. So I think, there was a lot of emotion behind it.
Absolutely. But if you talk to most people, there's something you'd be amazed because everybody would, you just said this, everybody really does have a story. And fortunately, they're not the same story. Otherwise, it would be boring as could be because
Mm,
what makes us us is our uniqueness and how we interpret what's happening to us and our way of,
mm.
right?
And I think you was talking about using our brain and imagination as it's a muscle, so we need to work it. And that's a good analogy, really, because if we're not using it, it won't grow. But the more you start, I think the thing is we need to bring that curiosity back as well, not
Yes,
rushing around because we're not in the moment. Most people don't live in the moment these days. So you'll go and you'll see a tree or you'll see a whatever, but you won't stop and, well, rarely stop and take in what it is. You don't take in, you just see it and you keep going. Whereas I think living in the moment is very important as well because it helps you
absolutely.
absorb that particular subject matter. And as you said, you might just sit on a bench and have a look at people walking by instead of being on your phone scrolling through. Look
Yes,
at the
that's
world.
really true. I mean, it's made such a, I mean, it's real. I really see even the difference in the last 10 or 15 years between the students then and the students now.
Mm,
And it
mm,
really is a problem, and it's an imagination killer. It really is. And it's also it kills your focus. I mean, and one of the things that you have to have as a creative, I don't care if you're painting a painting, I don't care if you're writing or dancing, doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to have you have to be able to focus. Nobody creates
mm,
anything in little, I'm going to work on my painting for 5 minutes and I'm going to go make a phone call and then I'm going to come. No, I mean, when my class is over, I mean, people have to come and drag us out, you know? So we're not interested in going to talk on the phone and scroll because we're really in that moment.
yes, and that's what I think we've lost the ability to be in the moment. And I know it's a cliche, and we have to be mindful and all that sort of thing. But if you want to get your creative juices flowing, I'm sure that's what you have to
Absolutely.
do. Get rid of all those distractions and actually focus on one thing. And maybe that's something we could all do today. Focus, like this morning, I got up and there was a gorgeous sunrise. And I took some photos because you know that when the sky is just those beautiful oranges and pinks and there's blue in there and everything, and it just looks so beautiful, and I took a moment to appreciate that rather than just saying, oh, yeah, that's beautiful and moving on.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, we have all inhabited, and it's funny, I probably think at least from the little I know about your country and the little I know about your people, is that they seem a billion times more chill than people in America who are just
Mm,
psycho. I mean, really, have no boundaries when it comes to work whatsoever. And
mm,
now the
mm,
addition of the phone has just made it worse because I've met people from Australia. One of the things that was really interesting when I met someone from Australia, this was a long time ago, and we were in Greece and we met this couple, and the whole time we were with them, because we hung out with them quite a bit, they never asked us what we did for a living, and we never asked them. that has
mm,
now the first thing you say in the United States when you meet someone, hi, oh, what do you do? I mean, literally
mm,
the first question. So I think in particular, it really describes Americans who just, there's no distance between life and work. And I think that's so unhealthy for people. We weren't born to work for other people. It just, right? You're not on this
mm,
earth to serve somebody.
mm. And also, I'm thinking of the benefits of writing, and even like some of the listeners might just want to do their own personal writing, a journal, or their
Absolutely.
family history, or their story for their children, that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be something they're going to publish or
No,
have made into a movie or something like that. But it's about just sort of getting it all down and just taking the time to focus on different things
absolutely.
rather than, as you say, working all the time. We've lost that art of relaxing. And I just think from a mental health point of view,
Absolutely.
even though, you have to be driven if you want to, if you're writing a novel or something that you're going to get published, you have to be driven. It is like a job, really.
And you
But,
should treat it as a
but
job. I mean, that's a good thing.
yeah, but it doesn't have to be fraught with that tension. And I think that writing or painting or any sort of form of creativity is so good for our mental health because we relax, we get caught up in that
Right.
moment, and we're
Absolutely.
not worrying about other things.
No, completely. It's an outlet for all of that. It's an escape valve for all of that. It's only what you put. I mean, if you're going to be neurotic and worry about everything, you're not going to enjoy that either. But as I say, we weren't put here or don't for to serve other people. And you have to figure out at some point, and I think particularly for people over 50 and women over 50, because we really feel disposed of, that it's important to get control back of your life and frame it in some way that's going to make you feel good. I mean, I have so much more confidence than I might have more wrinkles, but I also have more confidence, and I
Mm,
feel nothing intimidates me. I mean, I'll do things that I would never do when I was younger. And I think that that's, the empowerment that women, how we've empowered ourselves, and we need to take advantage of that.
mm. And I was just thinking, this is really the perfect time in our life because we've also got
Totally.
that life experience and wisdom from, all 60 plus years in my case, of life. And, we've got so much within us that we can share from just that life experience. So it's a great time now to really be thinking seriously about what we can do.
And also, I really talk about a lot about putting fun back into your life. I mean, there's this
Mm,
idea that, that you can't laugh and have fun and be silly and talk about, I mean, who said that? Where did that come down from? I mean, I think that again, when you're creative, you're into that natural child. You're not, once you can start to get into it, you're not as self-conscious. When you get into that mode sort of playing again in the way when you were a kid, you can still access that if
mm,
you get the other stuff. I think of a woman in my class in the storytelling lab that had then got very open about doing stuff. And she'd been very, as a matter of fact, she was from Australia, but now lives in London. And she was sort of repressed in certain ways. And she would say that. And she decided after she took the class, she felt very free. And she decided to go take an improv class. And she was maybe 52, 53. The next oldest person was 23.
mm,
And she said that at first she was so intimidated, by being surrounded by no one but these young kids. She said she had the time of her life. They would all go out together. It was so much fun. She felt completely free. It's these assumptions that we make. I mean, it's
mm,
all
mm,
about, it really has nothing to do with reality. What it has to do with is your own assumptions that you've brought to reality.
mm. And, I was thinking about uh, one of the obstacles or hurdles that a lot of us would be, and we probably touched on it before, but we worry too much about other people's opinions.
Oh
So
my,
we're going to be writing or painting or whatever, and we're worrying about what they're going to say and what if
oh,
they don't like it, rather than having that. And you can see. with people who maybe with art, sometimes you just see them splashing the color on the canvas. They don't really have anything in mind, but suddenly they produce something really creative. And I think for someone like me who is very doesn't consider herself creative, it's hard to let go and relax. Like if they say to you, just write anything, immediately your mind takes over and you go, oh, I can't think of anything, I've gone a blank. Or just do anything with the painting. It's just breaking through that barrier of letting go of I'm not creative, and just seeing what,
Right.
having an open mind and seeing
Absolutely.
what flows.
And I guarantee you, if you started writing with the words you just even said to me, I'm blocked, I can't think of anything, I'm looking out the window and it's sunny, I'm thinking I want to go to the beach, and just literally just don't think, and whatever words come out, you'll be amazed. Somewhere in there, you're going to go, "Ugh," because I really believe that it's our unconscious that has to do the work. It's not us sitting here insecure, tearing ourselves apart, worrying what everyone thinks. I think like and you access some other part of you that I mean, I'm always worrying about what people think. And my mother would, I was literally raised on the motto, or whatever you want to call it, what are people thinking about you if you do
Mm,
this? So
mm,
that's all I ever heard. And I mean, it's really hard to switch it off at this age. And you just you have to sort of surpass that and go into, your natural child. And I really rely on my unconscious as the only I couldn't write if I didn't do that because I would be so
mm,
self-critical. I would remain on page one for all of my life.
mm,
So I
mm.
can't think about it, and I don't.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other thing too is sometimes when you want to try something new, your nearest and dearest might not understand that. So they'd be saying, what do you want to do that for? So that's sort of a little barrier as well. And you have to
Don't tell.
overcome that. And no,
Don't
so
don't
that's your
no.
advice.
Absolutely. Don't I mean unless there's some absolute reason, no. Because the other thing, it's very threatening to people.
Mm,
Because everybody has a fantasy of doing something. I mean, I've never met anyone who didn't have a fan. I mean, they want to be a rock star, they want to be a dance. I mean, everybody has that, even if it's unrealistic. You're 70, you want to be a rock star, that's not going to happen. But it's not the point. So if you have that, right, there's something that you feel we shouldn't have that. We're a grown adult. Why are you dreaming about being a ballet dancer? But that doesn't mean, okay, so you're not gonna be bad. But it doesn't mean you can't take a class and have fun with it and enjoy it and it
mm,
being
mm,
what it is rather than and you know what? And don't tell anybody. Nobody has to know.
mm, mm,
I mean, a
mm,
lot of people don't tell people that they're writing a book or they're doing this or that. Or I just found out someone I knew was doing something for years and nobody knew it. It's
mm.
not their obligation to tell because
No, and
people,
it's
I
your
think, get
personal.
really jealous and it get people
Yeah.
because they want to do it too. Why can't I
Mm,
write a
mm,
book? Why can't I play the piano? Why can't I just think until the other thing is that people associate the money part. People would say to me, "Oh, so what are you writing?" And if you hadn't made any money at it, then you weren't a writer. But that's nonsense. When you're playing the piano, you're a pianist, even though you're not in
mm,
Carnegie Hall. I mean, so
mm,
I think we have to, again, get over what other people think. What do you think? What makes you feel?
mm. Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so look, we're coming towards the end of our interview today, and it's just been so interesting chatting to you, and you're getting me to feel a little bit more creative, I think.
Yes,
So
I
I'm
hope.
going
I
to,
hope.
yeah, I'm going to try and think of something to write, and I'll dedicate it to you.
Okay, I like
Um,
that. Whatever
but
comes out, you're not going to think about it. Um,
no, that's right.
that's the
That's
goal.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll make that a bit of a goal for everyone today. Write something. Don't think about it, just or paint whatever, but write something down and maybe you will share it with us. Um, just before I do have a question I ask all of
Sure.
my guests, but just before I go to that, is have we covered everything that you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I think we have. Don't you feel like I
I'll
have,
be sharing, yeah, I'll be sharing all the links with people so they can find you
that's great. And
and
I'll do the same. Right.
yes, and so we can spread the word about Storytelling Lab. But you've really come up with some um great points today, Bonnie. And one that's sticking with me is that creative natural child. And, how we just have to get back to that and to just,
Absolutely.
focus on what we're doing and just let it flow. So before we close, I've got my question, and that is, what does being a woman living well after 50 mean to you?
It means to really embrace the fact that you've got to 50 and to say to yourself, you've had so much to learn in those 50 years that now you get to take that wisdom into the next 50 years. You have the confidence, you have the education, you've had the work, you've had all the things that we talk about people should have. You've now had them. So
Mm.
why not move on to a different phase of your life where you're really focusing on you and the things that make you feel good? Because mainly women are here to make other people feel good. So what if in this half of your life you go, okay, I'm gonna, most people if they're over 50 have kids that are older and all of the jobs they've been in for a while. So maybe now it's your turn to have some fun.
Well, that's a great point to finish with. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Bonnie. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and you've certainly achieved a lot. And I will, as I said, be sharing links so that the listeners can find you and
Great.
Storytelling Lab, because I think it's a great initiative, and sometimes we just need that little helping hand to get
Really
us
true. It
started.
is. Just to sort of empower yourself, just to see other people going through what you're going through.
Mm,
This
mm.
was so
Well,
nice.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having me.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Best of luck with Storytelling Lab, and we look forward to some more work coming from you.
Right.
Yeah, so thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I really enjoyed that conversation with Bonnie Garvin today about Storytelling Lab and how we can unlock that creative natural child, which we've probably all let go of, because life's got in the way. I know that Bonnie was referring to people who write, novels and that sort of thing, but she was also talking to people like you and I who are perhaps wanting to just write our own story, whether it's for our personal use or for family. And we've all got that inner creative flair. So I hope you enjoyed the episode today and that you'll share it with a friend. Perhaps you might start writing, and if you do, I'd love to hear from you or even read your work if you'd like to share it with me. So that's all we've got time for today. But until next time, remember to live well, enjoy life, and most of all, be a woman living life your way. Bye for now.